A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to participate in Clinton Jones's wild, crazy, wacky, weird, and amazing alternate realities CG competition. If you're not familiar, it's just this really crazy rendering challenge. They have people from all over the internet participate, and they end up collaging this really insane, really cool project. It's all match cut together, so everything that you see in the entire project is based on the same basic FBX file. What I was able to do is able to take the same building blocks that like everybody has and then put together a little bit of my own spin on it. The first time Clint did this was maybe 6 months ago or something like that, and there weren't that many people that showed up, but then, wow, oh my goodness, this year there were a ton of entries. There were so many people doing this. There were so many people who honestly just did an amazing job. The stuff that they came up with was incredible. It was really amazing to be part of it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my entry. It wasn't the most beautiful thing in the world. It kind of stretched me and I had a good time. I did all of the modeling in Blender. I did my entire project in about 4 or 5 days. I started on a Friday and I used the whole long weekend over Memorial Day to be able to actually get it done on time. I made all the characters and stuff. I didn't make every model, but I made all the fish characters. I made the arrows. There's a little Easter egg. There's a hammerhead shark battering ram, which I thought was really clever because the theme of the whole thing was fish. I used a lot of pre-made assets and I kit bashed a couple of things together. So after I did that, I took them all into Substance. I used a lot of presets. I feel like my middle finger's not working. That's not good. I promise you I'm holding my fist shut right now. I decided to do my final render in Unreal Engine. Well, why not just do it in Blender? Because, it's quick, and whatever results I could get in Unreal, I could probably get in Blender with enough time and stuff, especially with just one shot. Well, Blender has gotten a lot better at doing their simulations. I wanted to get more experience simulating stuff in Unreal Engine. Some of you might not know this. Unreal is really good at pushing FBXs back out once you have them already in. So if you kit bash something in Unreal, if you can select all of the static meshes that you've kit bashed together, you can export them back out, and then you can pull the entire kit bash model into Blender or Maya or whatever DCC you use. The way I made the siege tower is I piled up all of these different static meshes, and then I just kind of got them to look the way I wanted, and I brought it back into Blender, and that's where I was able to rig it with bones. I was able to make the siege tower kind of swing back and forth and kind of lag behind a little bit, having bones drive all of the physics, and then just animating them, baking the animation, and then pulling it back into Unreal. The biggest reason I decided to do my render in Unreal is because I wanted to do this crazy background simulation. I wanted to have not only the fishmen hauling in the siege tower, but I wanted to see hundreds of fishmen in the background getting shot at and holding torches and pitchforks and swords. It turned out super cool. I ended up using the same skeletal mesh to create all of my background actor blueprints, and I had all of those little actors just sort of run in a path, and then I had them either get killed by getting hit by an arrow, or by timing out randomly, or by running into a kill zone that would keep them from sort of falling into the edge. Although in my final render I actually had to comp out one fishman who was magically floating above the the moat, and it ended up blocking this other fishman who amazingly, with physics, fell right in the water, so I was super bummed out. I actually had this done similar to the way you might do it in a game. I didn't have AI controlling my army, which would have been amazing, and then, maybe next time. I assembled blueprint launchers that would send arrows flying at all of my fishmen, and while the results aren't perfect contact all the time, you definitely get the sense that arrows are hitting the guys, and then the guys are just getting destroyed. I sent my entry to a friend afterwards who works in Niagara and Houdini and actually runs effects on a game, and he was like, yeah, there was probably a better way of doing it than that. Everything that came out of this competition, specifically the top 100 of the final selects from the judges, were absolutely insane. They were great. They were amazing. It was amazing artistry by everyone involved. The only mark I have is that you did see a lot more people who had put together stuff that was a lot more robots, a lot more dystopias, a lot more sci-fi stuff. And the vast majority of the finalists who were in the top 100 were more sci-fi. There was a lot of photorealism, and while there were some non-photorealistic renders, the vast majority were very photorealistic, which is all cool, good, and fine, but it would have been nice to see a couple of more renders that were, you know, not so based in the physicality of it all. And then also it would have been really nice to maybe see a judge or two that had a little bit more of a traditional animation pipeline background. Ultimately, I have a ton of respect for everybody who was on the judge committee, either past or present Corridor employees, and then also Ian Hubert. Everybody loves Ian Hubert. My end result was fantastic. I learned a ton. It turned out great. It was so much fun. I learned a lot about Unreal. I learned a lot about Blender. I got a little bit more substance under my belt, which is an area that I'm still trying to actively improve. So yeah, a good time, a really good time. So thanks to everybody. Thanks to Clint. Thanks to all the mods. Thanks to everybody who put this thing together. It was a great time. Thank you.